going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. It is June 3rd, 2020, and this is your AEW Dynamite review for tonight's show. On our way to Fyter Fest, which we finally have some solid news on. We'll go over that tonight as well. And tonight, Dynamite was absolutely stacked. It was a loaded show. Cody made his first TNT Championship title defense against Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy, obviously, as you guys know, if you watched last week's show, he won a battle royal to earn his shot. The first ever TNT Championship title match on Dynamite. AEW World Tag Team Championships were also on the line. Hangman Page and Kenny Omega back finally again on Dynamite. They defended against Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian. Super lame Kip Sabian, but he was anything but lame tonight. We'll go over that as well. Havoc and Sabian defeated SCU last week to get this shot tonight against the tag team champions. And the winner of this match is going on to Fyter Fest to go one-on-one, or I guess two-on-two, against the best friends for the tag team championships. And something I was looking forward to since they announced it last week, a sit-down exclusive with Tony Schiavone with FTR. We finally got a glimpse as to what that actually means. They're going to be on Dynamite tonight talking to Tony Schiavone, and their in-ring debut is actually happening next week. So we'll go over all of that tonight on the podcast, plus your AEW news and rumors for the week. I am joined by a returning Jesse. My friend, how are you doing this evening? And what did you think of Dynamite before we get into the full-fledged detailed review here on Off the Script?
Dynamite was awesome as always. How's everybody doing this fine evening? All right. I hope everybody's staying safe.
Yep. Crazy shit happening out there. We love you all, man. Hopefully you guys are staying safe and find some solace and some comfort in what we do here on Off the Script. But, guys, before we get into the podcast, I want to make sure you guys are aware. Make sure you check out the Monday Night Raw review. I interviewed Charlotte Flair. I mean, you got to go check it out. I mean, I interviewed her about the NXT Women's Championship match on In Your House this coming Sunday against Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley. She gave some detailed answers. I had to try my best to decode what she was actually talking about because, I don't speak fucking Android. So we'll go over that as well. Here she might actually come back on Sunday to have a second interview after her triple threat match at In Your House. So look forward to that. But really, if you guys missed my Monday Night Raw review, go and check it out. Some good stuff there. Off the Script from this past weekend, we did part 1 and part 2 with part 3 on Sunday. So it's been a while since I did the 3-parter for the entire weekend. Go and check that out. Links are down in the description below in this very video. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. And make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that bell for all notifications. We are here mostly 6 days a week, but I'm here every single review, man. Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, AEW, and NXT Weekly. So if you guys want to keep up with the shows and you don't want to watch them because they're bad and they're just not doing it for you, I got you covered right here on the podcast. Jesse, we're going to start at the top, man. I got some news coming out of AEW, and as always, I want your opinion on it. Now, I love what's going on. Things are slowly starting to get back to normal. Baseball is, I believe, in the phases of maybe possibly coming back for July 4th. We got basketball, I believe, is coming back. They're going to do a 16-team playoff, I believe. Is that correct? Did you hear anything about that?
Nothing about it at all, man.
No, I think they're going right into the playoffs is what I read today. But I got to do some more research on that. But the point I'm trying to make is things are slowly starting to get back to normal. Sports are slowly starting to get back to TV. And WWE and AEW are expecting several talents to return to television. And as you guys know, watching AEW, there are 2 big names absent from Dynamite. The travel bans imposed as a result of the CV-19 have caused a lot of plans for WWE and AEW to be changed over the recent months. And in terms of WWE, Robert Roode and the Singh brothers, which, they haven't really been on TV anyway, but they are in that category and in that group as well. They've been unable to attend tapings due to the travel ban with Canada. Now, the NXT Cruiserweight Champion, Jordan Devlin, Pete Dunne, two notable names over there coming out of that brand. They were not able to travel to the United States because of the travel ban. They've been stuck in the UK. Now, for AEW, the absences have been a little bit more closer to the top of the card. Pentagon Jr. and Pac have been stuck in Mexico and England, respectively, meaning that they've missed the last few months' worth of TV tapings. Jack Evans as well, and Helico, they've also been unable to get into the U.S. for TV tapings due to the travel bans. Athletes are now welcome to come back into the States. The North in Impact Wrestling, I believe they are the Impact Tag Team Champions. They actually made their return to Impact Wrestling as well due to their, the travel ban for that during their set of TV tapings recently. Pentagon, Pac, and those other guys, we have Angelico and Jack Evans, they'll be able to come back into AEW. So this is great news, Jesse, because Pentagon, he is absolutely a top of the card type of guy in AEW. I feel like with Phoenix, he's definitely missing something with his brother not being there. Pac, he's been one of the best things while he was on TV before all this shit happened. Easily one of the best things about AEW. Easily one of the best things on Dynamite. AEW is about to get some star power. Not that they really need it because they're doing very well with what they got right now. But, I mean, you add a guy like Pentagon and a guy like Pac, I mean, it just makes the show that much better.
It does. It looks like they're getting ready to start putting pieces in place where they actually want them. They may look like they want to start getting those titles off of Hangman and Omega, get them onto a true tag team, and they can get Pac back into the picture. They can get Omega and Hangman on the singles titles feud that needs to be on. Things are going to start paying out. They got FTR in, get the Bucks back on TV more. It's going to start making a nice little picture this summer for AEW.
Yeah, and they had that Death Triangle and Best Friends feud that was kind of stopped, and now they could pick that back up. I know FTR was interviewed by Tony Schiavone today on Dynamite, and they mentioned the Lucha Brothers as one of their, top matches that they wanted to go out there and really showcase themselves against. It's going to be great. And Pac, he's a world title guy. I do miss him on TV. I think the last time we seen him, correct me if I'm wrong, was that big Iron Man match that he had with Kenny Omega, correct?
I think so.
That was the last time we seen him. Yeah, that was unbelievable. So having someone like that and Pentagon back on TV just going to make Dynamite all that much better. So I'm very much looking forward to those guys coming back. AEW, Double or Nothing, they exceeded pay-per-view buys. So this is also very good news for All Elite Wrestling. During PW Insider Elite Audio, Mike Johnson stated that AEW just have produced their highest grossing pay-per-view in the history of this very young company. He says this, and I quote, "I can tell you after speaking to certain people who handle pay-per-view distribution just on their realm, this might have been the best bought AEW pay-per-view of all time." It was noted that if the numbers hold up, then it's looking like AEW could have made history with the 2020 version of Double or Nothing. That's very good news. That's great news for AEW. That means people are wanting to see the product and what they're producing. It's in demand. So that's great news coming out of AEW. But the one thing I want to go over, Jesse, is with AEW and their pay-per-view, it's not more so about how many pay-per-views they sell, but it's the formula in which they have kind of taken and just kind of brought to light how the old school and some aspects of the old school actually still do work beautifully in the modern era of pro wrestling. With the 4 big pay-per-views spread out across the entire calendar year, it makes their television all that much more important. Storylines breathe. Everything just has a nice flow to it. And those shows, when we finally get them, they're so built up, it's almost as if it's a water balloon about to burst. I love the formula in which AEW has done things. And the one thing I think a lot of people have kind of latched onto when it comes to AEW pay-per-views, they are right now in this, I guess, mode where they create memories with these pay-per-views. If you go back to the first Double or Nothing, even the All-In pay-per-view that we both attended, and AEW wasn't even around then, all these AEW pay-per-views have memories. I mean, the Cody and Dustin match, that was memorable. Then you had the World Championship match between Jericho and Page. That was memorable because you were crowning a first ever AEW champion. You had that great, some people are saying it's the greatest tag team match ever between the Young Bucks and Omega Page. Then you had Moxley doing his thing with Jericho. That was also a memorable aspect. You had the Stadium Stampede match. AEW is in the business of pay-per-view not only to have great pay-per-views, but every single pay-per-view they've had, they've created memories in their first year. That's the one thing. That's the one important thing I take away from it.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think a lot of it has to do with, like you said, it's the business model. They don't give us a pay-per-view every month. You know, we're used to WWE where they give us a pay-per-view every month, and normally we would expect to have to pay $40 to $50 to $60 every month for a pay-per-view. Now, it's awesome that they came up with the network and we no longer have to do that. So $10 a month.
Which is going to be more expensive, by the way.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
that's no concern to you because you canceled your subscription.
I canceled mine. I don't care, man. I don't care. So WWE's gotten the consumers used to a certain business model as it pertains to pay-per-views. So when AEW has to come out now and say, hey, we need your $50 for a pay-per-view, I don't mind doing it because they don't do it every month. I mean, I can afford $50 a month for a pay-per-view. That's just ridiculous. They don't have a network for the time being right now. So to ask for money for a pay-per-view every 4 months or so, I'll take that. That only equates to about a little over $10 a month, and that's worth it. I look at it as buying a ticket to a pay-per-view if they were in town, which I entirely would anyway. So I don't, for $50 every 3-4 months or so, worth it. Easily worth it. I'll take that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I have no issue. Normally, I would definitely have an issue dropping any type of money on any pay-per-view. I feel like none of these pay-per-view events, even if you go into the boxing and UFC realm, I just feel like you're ultimately going to be disappointed for spending way too much money for something that's overpriced. I remember when I was watching Conor McGregor's last fight, and it ended in, a minute, 2 minutes? Probably less than that.
Oh, less than
40
that.
seconds. I mean,
Yeah.
I laughed. I was at the bar. I laughed at the person next to me. I'm like, imagine the idiot that paid for this shit to watch this match end in 40 seconds. And the bartender was sitting next to me because everybody came from behind the bar to come watch the match. And she's like, shh, the owner is right behind you. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I mean, I would never pay $70, $80 for that shit. You know?
No, it sucks. Yeah, it does suck.
But AEW's got it right. Everything that they're doing with pay-per-view is just working, and it's going to be no different when we get to all out. It's going to be great. But we got the show to start off. Speaking of pay-per-views and championship matches, we got Dynamite starting off with a tag team championship match here between Jimmy Havoc, Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford, Jim Ross's favorite, everybody's favorite apparently, Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page. Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian beat SCU last week to get this shot against Omega and Page. And this one was laid out a little bit differently. It was definitely a highlight for Kip Sabian. The match was predictable. I don't think anybody really thought that Havoc and Sabian were going to win this match because, I mean, they were just there as a plug-in to get Omega and Page onto the Best Friends at Fyter Fest, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But, Jesse, this match was very fun for what it was, about 15 minutes or so. This was definitely a highlight for Kip Sabian. This was a match that I think was Kip Sabian's best in all of AEW so far. I know you texted me saying that it looks like they got a rocket pack strapped to Kip Sabian. I don't know if I would go that far, but they're definitely putting a lot more stock in him as of late than they did when AEW first came around. But this was a very good opener, and the babyfaces were being beat down. The heels took advantage early. Page tagged in, and Page and Omega got some offense early in as well. Back and forth. Sabian took the referee. Ford tried a flying head scissors off the top, but Page caught her, and then she got ejected. So all this confusion was going on, and Havoc hit Page and Omega with a ring wrench. So you got some of Jimmy Havoc's hardcore tendencies coming into this thing with the referee's back turn. Havoc worked over Page. Omega and Sabian made some tags. Omega hit Sabian and Havoc with Hurricanranas. Omega hit a backstabber on Sabian for a near fall. Omega hit a Katara Crusher on Sabian. Page then followed with a standing shooting star, which I love. He does it beautifully. Havoc jumped on the apron with a saw, a legitimate tool saw. And Page kicked him and the saw to the floor, hit a clothesline on Sabian for a 2 count. Sabian and Havoc then used a series of quick tags to lay out Omega, so they were giving you a decent push here to make you believe they were going to win the match, but it was pretty much set in stone. Omega came back with some Snapdragons after he was nailed with a beautiful Poison Rana, so he hit a couple of Snapdragons on Havoc and on Sabian. All 4 guys are in the match now. At the end, things are breaking down. Page and Omega then stack Sabian and Havoc in the corner, hit a series of lariats, and then they hit their buckshot V-trigger combination, which they call the last call, and that was it. This was fun for what it was. Predictable, yes, but more so, I think the one thing that we could take away from this, Jesse, is that Kip Sabian stood out, and it looks like he is on his way to some pretty decent things in AEW.
He did. Kip Sabian looked really good tonight. If you watched Dark more, you would see that they are strapping the rocket to him. He's almost there.
I did watch some of Dark today. You would be proud. I watched Dark from yesterday because I had to watch my boy Leroy Green, Big Game Leroy from House of Glory, and he was up against. We had Santana and Ortiz. It was a squash match, but I was happy to see some House of Glory representation in that match.
There you go. You see what happens when you watch Dark? You get entertained by good wrestling.
I know, but Taz was calling his Nintendo Switch a Game Boy, so we gotta brush up on some video game knowledge with Taz there. Didn't really like that, but whatever. It is what it is. But what were you saying about Dark?
They seem to. I mean, Kip gets his he gets his stuff in on Dark. I mean, so when I see him on Dynamite, getting the win or even like in a high profile match like this, I'm not shocked by it, and I can kind of see it. They're moving them, and if I had to take a guess at it, they might be kind of separating him and Penelope, just topically and probably for a little bit because they're gonna need help in the women's division, and she's doing all right. She's doing actually pretty well on her own. So this may be the start of them kind of just parting a little bit and maybe coming back together down the road, but they might have something for both of them in the singles competitions now.
How do you feel about her being so involved in his matches? I mean, I look at it almost like a similar situation to Andrade and Zelina Vega. She's always getting involved in his matches when she really doesn't need to get involved in his matches. This was early on. It still happens every now and then, but it was really heavy and really noticeable when he first got moved to the main roster. Like he would need her to help him win against guys like Apollo before Apollo won the United States Championship, when Apollo was a master chef in catering. Do you get that? Do you get that similar feeling with Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian? Is she interjecting herself too much into his matches, where it kind of takes the spotlight away from him and it makes him look a little weak in the process?
Well, I've pretty much become accustomed to it. Like, it's been like a part of their gimmick the whole time. So it's not as intrusive as it might seem, for me at least. But now that we see him getting this big spotlight tonight and everything else, maybe this is the start of getting him into his matches without her, because before tonight, I never really saw a reason for him to be left alone. Like, I'm watching the match like, okay, we need her to get involved. But now if he's performing like this, if he's putting on matches like this, now I want to say to myself, I don't want to see her get involved. I want to see how he does on his own.
Oh yeah, so, I think she needs to be there. I think she, just by aesthetically, I think she makes him look better, just because of she's a beautiful woman, and she's always that I would say that danger of her kind of swinging the match around in such an instance is always something that he should have in his back pocket as a heel. But I just don't want them to overdo it. Is what I'm saying. It's just too much, and the more you do it, I've always said it, the more you do it, the more it loses its appeal, and I don't want to see that happen, because I do think they're a solid duo, but I think they kind of push their limits with the same rinse and repeat formulaic style that we've seen from both of them. That's just what I think. I don't know.
I can see that. I mean, I can even see this getting annoying to an extent for me. But I like you said, like tonight, I like how they're showing a few more branches of Kip. So if they keep showing a little bit more things like this, then I have no problem with seeing less of Penelope. And if that starts to happen, awesome. Let them go off into their own divisions. Let's see what they can do on their own.
Yep, totally agree with that. Moving on here, man, we got Tully Blanchard. I don't know if you guys seen this Tully Blanchard promo that was on social media a couple of days ago. He was absolutely beside himself. He was screaming at the top of his lungs to Shawn Spears. And he told Spears to change something in his heart if he wants to have a championship belt that will make his future kids proud. Then they went to a clip from earlier in the day where Spears was already in a limo. He was joined by Tully Blanchard. Tully Blanchard had a box, and he said, "This is going to be the difference maker. I got what you need." So he opens the box, and we didn't see what was in it immediately, and I didn't even think we were going to see what was in the box. I thought they were going to kind of spread this thing out, and we were going to be left with a cliffhanger, but indeed, we had Spears pull out whatever was in the box, and it ended up being a black glove. Now, Tully then said, "This is what I call the missing piece." I got completely lost in this entire situation here, Jesse. I have even no idea what to even say about what this is, unless he's going under a completely different gimmick or character change. To you, what does this mean for Shawn Spears, and what does the black glove to you symbolize for Shawn Spears moving on into the future?
Yeah, I have the answer for this. I have no idea whatsoever. Now,
so we're in the same boat here.
Yeah, now I don't remember. What was Tully's finishing move? Was it like the Iron Claw or something? Or am I thinking of Von Erich?
I'm sure somebody will correct us on that. Listen, we go back, but we don't go that back. It might be exactly that. It might be something to do with what brought him to be successful in his career, and now he's kind of turning it on to Shawn Spears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. I have to look it up. But if it has something to do with Tully's finishing move, that would be great. And that'd be all. I'll go back and look at some Tully matches to get some reference for that. If that was the case.
The thing is, weren't they looking for a tag team partner for him? Is that now? I don't know if this was referenced on Dark. Did they stop that?
They have not mentioned that in a while.
No. I know he had some poll on social media. I know Simon Miller from What Culture was on that as well, and everybody voted for Simon, but I don't think they ended up having Shawn Spears pick anybody. Not like they need another tag team in this fucking company.
Why not? They need something for Shawn Spears to do, to be honest. I mean, to kind of keep him floating, they need something for him to do.
Yeah. Yeah, he's too good to be just there. I know I've said to you personally, I think he is a great candidate for a TNT Championship title run. I could definitely see him challenging Cody for that championship. So maybe this is exactly what is going to bring him to that next level. Maybe this is something from Tully's past and brought Tully to a great career. Now he's turning it into something that Shawn Spears could use. So we'll see what happens. Listen, at the end of the day, I know a lot of people usually, rag on me when something shitty happens on Monday Night Raw with somebody that we like, and we say that they're going nowhere and it's directionless. I hear from these fucking shills, "Oh, but at least he's on TV." Listen, I'm going to use the same fucking line that I get used, or abused with on social media. At least Shawn Spears is on TV, right?
There you go.
Any TV on AEW TV is good TV. I can't say the same about WWE. It is what it is. Speaking of good TV, I love seeing guys like Brian Cage destroy and maim. That's exactly what he did here to Shawn Dean. I was going to call him Simon Dean. Shawn Dean. This was 1 minute, drill claw. That was it. Obviously, they're setting this guy up for Jon Moxley at Fyter Fest. Taz, obviously, with him. Love Taz and what he's bringing to the table here with Brian Cage. So he got on the microphone, and clearly this is their version, a much lesser version of Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. But Taz, though he's not as good as Paul Heyman, can handle himself fucking well on the microphone. He said Moxley had the audacity to snicker and giggle when he spoke to him about how the machine was going to kick the living shit out of you. No bleep here, folks. No bleep on TNT. Love it. He said he needs to get his head on right or it'll get taken off. Moxley's music then hit. He came through the bleachers carrying his AEW Championship, of course. Moxley was halfway into the ring and Taz yelled and warned Moxley to be careful before you even come into this ring. Moxley paused, then he entered the ring. Moxley said he's in this business to go to war with people like Brian Cage. He then said stepping into the ring with Brian Cage for the title is the furthest thing from a game. He told Cage that he is impressive, seamlessly indestructible. He said that he is a human and I can be beat, yes, but it'll take Cage all night to do it. He told Taz he was right when he said Cage is a different thing entirely from anyone else in AEW, but he is a different thing entirely as well. He told Cage he is in over his head, and he will find out at Fyter Fest, and he'll find out that he's swimming with a different breed of shark. He then told them to not waste their time trying to intimidate him, and remember just who the hell you're talking about when you mention my name. He left, and that was it. Very simple. Good segment, great promo work by Moxley, great promo work by Taz, believable in everything that they're doing here with this. I don't know how they go about booking this. I hope it's a similar situation with what they did with Brody Lee at Double or Nothing because Cage needs to look strong. And even though if we get to that point and Cage does lose to Moxley, I don't think it's going to hurt him in any which way if they continue building him up the way that they're doing. But I thought this was great for what it was. I'm excited to see what they do. And Jesse, Fyter Fest is shaping up to be a big 2-week event, just like Bash at the Beach was for AEW back in January when they were kind of working with the Jericho cruise. We got July 1st and then July 8th, I believe. Championships galore on the line during this thing. A great tactic to go and use against NXT. They're building seemingly a pay-per-view over 2 weeks to go head-to-head with NXT. I think it's a great marketing tool because Fyter Fest clearly can't happen because of the CV-19 the way it was last year. But what do you think about Fyter Fest being a 2-week big extravaganza on TNT for AEW?
I love it. I think it also falls into play when we just talked about them holding a pay-per-view every 4 months or so.
Absolutely right. They got that like Saturday night main event like vibe right in the middle of the pay-per-view calendar. I love that too.
Yeah. It breaks up the monotony of, okay, these are just normal shows, and then you got to wait a few months for a pay-per-view. We got something big to work towards and to look forward to without having to worry about shelling out another $50 for another pay-per-view. So I like the idea a lot.
So this is going to be interesting. How do you think they're going to book this Cage and Moxley match? Is it going to be similar to what they did? Because I think we were both in the same boat. We were kind of iffy about how they were going to go about booking Brody Lee, but after all was said and done at Double or Nothing, I think that Brody Lee has not suffered anything negatively coming out of that match. I thought that was one of his better matches in recent memory. For sure, I love the ending. They made him look strong. He never tapped out. Blood loss. He just passed out due to his submission. Is this going to be a similar situation with Brian Cage? And if Cage loses, is he going to be affected in any way? And if so, why?
Well, first off, Cage is going to lose. So let's get that out of our brains right now. I don't know. I think they might be trying to capture lightning in the bottle twice on this one because they got a little bit fortunate with the Brody Lee situation. But how many new debuts of big names are they going to have where they're going to end up immediately feeding them to Mox? I mean, but you still want them to be strong. How much better would it be if we had Cage in separate feuds, not including Mox, and then come at the end of the summer or at the end of the fall, we finally get Cage and then Mox, as opposed to Cage showed up, Cage lost to Mox. Next.
Yeah, like you said, I think we're all in agreement here that Brian Cage is going to lose. But I think the one big thing that's going to happen here, and we got a couple of weeks, and with the nature of his destruction almost at the pay-per-view in that ladder match, Darby Allin. No normal human being should be wrestling after what Brian Cage did to him. He almost legitimately fucking killed him by tossing him over the top rope into a ladder that was standing on the outside. And amongst other things that happened in that match with Darby Allin. I mean, I don't know why any normal human being would be wrestling after the 2 bumps he took in that match. But I do think that Darby Allin's going to cost Brian Cage this match at Fyter Fest, and that's going to lead to Brian Cage versus Darby Allin at All Out. And that's how they get that bridge. And that's how they're going to get Brian Cage that loss. Because it's not gonna really affect Brian Cage if Darby Allin just comes out of nowhere and kind of does and and does exactly what he should do, and that is exact revenge on Brian Cage for what happened at Double or Nothing. So I think Darby Allin's going to be a factor in Moxley retaining that championship while maintaining Brian Cage look legitimate and strong coming out of that show.
Well, how do they have Darby interfere and then not have to redo this title match? I mean, you guys screw out of your match on a Darby for you, they have to revisit this title match if he interferes.
Yeah, I guess they can revisit it. I don't know when they would revisit it. I mean, okay, listen, that's my job to fucking pick out logic gaps, bro. Listen,
now you stumped me. Lose clean. He's got to lose clean. You got to lose clean. So it's gonna be another situation like Brody Lee. Then it's got to be. If you try to build up Mox as a dominant champion, you don't want any fuck finishes in there. He has to win clean.
And we'll see what happens, folks. I don't know. The AEW might be booking themselves into another proverbial WWE corner here. So, like I said, I've been saying it, and I'm pretty confident in Tony Khan. I'm pretty confident in AEW. I think when it comes down to the creative side of things, they are going to make sense of most of what you see. I hope this isn't one of those situations where they just let the illogical WWE sense kind of seep in. So we'll see what happens. If there's one thing about AEW I trust, it's the creative side of things. So hopefully they work themselves out of this little scuffle here between Moxley and Brian Cage. Alex Marvez interviewed Lance Archer. It looked like they were somewhere in Jacksonville underneath some highway pass or some abandoned fucking trash yard. But it looked like he was practicing beating up he was definitely beating up somebody in a lucha mask because everybody dies. He said no one means anything to him. He said no one in AEW can stop him. He said he isn't there to be a spot monkey. He's there to be a monster. Yeah, Strowman. He's there to be a monster, not a pussy who can run fast. Gotta get my digs in at Strowman. He really got intense and everybody dies. He says everybody's gonna die. Jake Roberts then seemed to... He seemed to be a little taken aback by Lance Archer as if he couldn't control him, and he apologized to Marvez. So it looks like they're, I wouldn't even say it's a rebuilding phase for Lance Archer because there's nothing to rebuild. The right outcome happened, that Double or Nothing. This is just Lance Archer continuing to be Lance Archer. And I love it. Can't wait to see what he does next.
He just murdered somebody. Nobody gives a shit. I don't understand this. I mean,
say again?
Whatever. He just murdered somebody. He was sitting there killing somebody, and he was interrupted for an interview. What happened to the guy that he was murdering? Nobody gives a shit.
Nobody cares. The cameraman don't care. Marvez don't care. Jake don't care. Like yesterday's garbage. Go ahead, whatever. Maybe he's not a fan of lucha wrestling. I don't know.
What the hell?
I don't know.
I love this guy. He has to murder somebody as his entrance. Who does that? I love it.
Exactly.
Love it.
It's what a monster should be doing.
I would have a handicap match in about a month or so, and have every jobber that he murdered coming out to the ring in a handicap match with him. He can kill them all twice.
That's a good idea. AEW, you listening? That should be Lance Archer's first match back. Pineapple Pete, you got fucking Lee Johnson and everybody else that he destroyed. Get him in there.
Whoa.
What?
Pineapple Pete. Whoa.
Yeah, Pineapple Pete.
It's a main eventer. What the fuck are you talking about?
This guy's a main eventer.
Yes.
This guy's a fucking bum. What are you talking about?
Okay, right. Pineapple Pete will be the next AEW champion.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. Jesse says Pineapple Pete is going to be a future AEW World Champion. Who he's going to beat, I don't know. But catch him in aisle fucking 1 at the supermarket looking for pineapples. That's where he belongs. Right, stocking the pineapples.
I'm telling you.
What?
Keep it up. He's gonna fucking kill you. Keep it up.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll come across him at a next StarCast event that we both attend. I don't know. Then you could tell him that he's gonna be a future AEW champion. And I'll sit there and laugh.
Hope so. Headline anywhere across the world. Pineapple Pete, dude.
Well, speaking of stocking, I'd love to stock some shelves with Private Party, man, and just get them drinks flowing. Private Party was having a drink backstage when in walked Matt Hardy, regular Matt Hardy, not broken Damascus Matt Hardy. He asked how the knee was, and clearly the knee was okay. This was all a work, so that was that. Quen was always okay coming out of last week's show. So Quen jumped around and he showed Matt that it was just fine. Matt said Their bond reminds him of what he and Jeff had. Jeff was not mentioned by name, but he said his brother. Hardy said a lot of people helped them when they were a young team, so he's fine helping them if they ever need it. So they seemed receptive considering them being over the top, and they were very excited, and they were celebrating that Matt wanted to help them. Hardy says he loves their enthusiasm and walked out of the room. And as he's walking out of the room, Sammy Guevara is just kind of pedaling through the hallway here at Daly's place. Hardy said that they were cool, and he respects him, and Sammy didn't know what to make of Matt Hardy's nice gesture here. So everybody loves Sammy, but now Matt Hardy is actually warming up to Sammy Guevara, Jesse. What do you think?
I like it.
You like it?
I like it. You know what else I like? I like I think you kind of like shit on it already, but I like the Hardy gimmick change. But I don't want him changing gimmicks every match or throughout a match. I want him changing gimmicks once every few weeks.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said last week when I did the show by myself. I said Matt Hardy obviously teamed with Private Party. Oh no, he teamed with Omega again. I believe it was Omega, right? Who the fuck did he team with? It was Omega, right?
With the Elite.
Oh yeah, he was with the Elite. Yeah, the Young Bucks. I'm sorry, against Janela and Private Party. And yeah, I said that last week. I'm like, he comes out as like the original Hardy boy, Matt Hardy. And then we just got done seeing him as Damascus, and then he changed all those gimmicks in the Stadium Stampede match. I even said it last week. I'm like, you got to slow it down. I love that he does it, and I love that they have given him this kayfabe. He could transform into anything, but they got to slow it down because the more you do it, it's not going to be as special anymore. The more we see it. So I do agree there, but it looks like he is, at least right now, going to be version 2 Matt Hardy. So who knows when we're going to see broken Matt Hardy.
It's a pretty good version. I like version 2, man.
Yeah, version 2 is good. Version 2 is good. At least we know he's in good hands in AEW. Chris Jericho, speaking of in good hands, everything that Jericho touches turns to gold. And Jericho got his thing going on with Mike Tyson. Tonight he's against Boom Boom Colt Cabana. But I got some news on Jericho. Jericho was in the news, obviously, not only because of the Mike Tyson news, but what he had to say about people like me saying that they bit off a WWE angle. Jericho says that this is a Jericho angle, not a WWE angle. ESPN actually interviewed him, so you know where this reached. Mark Raimondi on ESPN interviewed Jericho, and this is what Jericho had to say. It's a WWE angle? No, it's a Chris Jericho angle. I was there. I don't just wash my hands and wash away of an entire 19-year history with WWE. That's ludicrous. Anybody criticizing that this was a WWE angle and we brought it over here, this is my life. It's my story. I know what to expect. A guy like Tyson, he's a firecracker, man. He's a loose cannon as an entertainer and as a performer. You don't give Mike Tyson a script. You don't rehearse something with Mike Tyson. You just go out there. He's going to do whatever the fuck he wants to do no matter what, and that's cool. I have 30 years of being in the ring, and I can guide that. Now, Jericho obviously does make a point. This is a Chris Jericho angle. They are building off something that Jericho felt like they could have built upon, but I don't think he's really touching upon the fact that it did look eerily similar to what Vince McMahon had in store for Stone Cold Steve Austin and his match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14 and Mike Tyson being the special enforcer. Jericho obviously isn't going to go that far and say, yeah, it looks similar because they want AEW to stand out from, WWE. But yeah, Jericho could really sugarcoat it all he wants, Jesse. But, the fact of the matter is it looked very eerily similar to that one instance that turned the tide on the Monday Night Wars.
Of course it's similar. I mean, we sit and listen to Vince tell us every week that AEW has no effect on how they run WWE, and we know that's bullshit, right? What's the difference here? I mean, it has nothing to do. Okay, I mean, so if Tyson was never called in to get involved with the Austin and HBK feud. If he never came to WWE, will we be seeing Tyson in an AEW ring right now?
Probably not.
Probably not. Probably not. It's not a foregone conclusion, but probably not. I mean, so who are we kidding? We know what it's from. Everybody knows where it's from. He doesn't have to tell us where it's from. So whoever asked that question was an idiot. I mean, we know where it's from, and we know why he's doing it. I mean, hats off to him for that reason. So,
is this the natural progression of AEW? A lot of people might not like the fact that AEW is dipping into the mainstream pool or going after this huge publicity stunt with Mike Tyson, and they wanted the company to grow from within with the talent that they have there, build on their young stars, make them into household names, use the resources that they had from the beginning instead of going out and getting someone like a Mike Tyson. Is this the right move for AEW and their future? Is this the right move for them to grow, or is this going to put them in a bubble where they're trying to be too similar to WWE and use WWE ideas? Or, like I said, is this going to work for them in the end? I mean, they were all over the place. Clearly it worked. ESPN, you name it, TMZ, every fucking big known publication picked this up. So obviously it worked, but is this what their hardcore fans are going to really appreciate and respect?
Yes, it'll work. It did work. The ultimate goal, what they want to accomplish with Mike Tyson. See, people forget WWE. For me, WWE is like a broken clock. I mean, they spend all day long just getting crap wrong, but even a broken clock is right twice a day. And Jericho's smart enough to know that. So you take the great things that WWE gets right and you fix them before they fail, because eventually WWE normally fails you at some point of those ideas. So you take the idea and you work it the right way, which is what it looks like they're going to be doing. You do need the focus and the name and the attention on the company so those other names can get over. However many thousands or millions of viewers or however many it was that came in to start watching the AEW because they heard about the Mike Tyson thing, those are the people that get to see a Darby Allin, and they get to find out who Kenny Omega is, and then find out that tag team wrestling actually still exists. So even like the weirdest and the silliest and the dumbest things that WWE does, they're done for the right reasons. And if done right, then even the hardcore fans will love it and appreciate it. I mean, hardcore fans are hardcore fans. We want more people to watch wrestling. So if you bring in Mike Tyson, if you bring in Mr. Magoo, and then the next few weeks shows a reflection of increased ratings, the hardcore fans will say, hey, you know what? Give me Mr. Magoo as long as I'm getting some wrestling in there at the meantime. Because we want more people to watch. We want higher ratings. We want better product. We want the best for this company to thrive. So we're smart enough to know that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think that this is a great move, and if you're a hardcore fan, I think that you need to be in support of AEW with a move like this, because, you know, more eyes, like Jesse said, are going to be on that talent, and it's going to be in more homes. It's going to be in more people's ears and mouths, and, you know, the end goal here is to not be on Wednesday night, you know, forever at an 8 p.m. time slot to go up against WWE's third brand, which we all love. You know, we all know it's the best brand that WWE has, but, you know, the end goal is to make this into a legitimate threat, not to NXT, but to WWE. Competition breeds quality. That's what's happened coming out of the Monday Night Wars. And if this end result leads to AEW and major success, you as a hardcore fan should be okay with this. I think we should all be okay with this. We all want wrestling to thrive. We all want wrestling to be around. And I would personally love to see AEW in 5, 6, 7 years, you know, be on a Monday night. I know you told me, Jesse, how many fucking times you tell me? If AEW and Raw were on at the same time, on the same day, in the same time slot, Monday Night Raw wouldn't even exist to you. That's what you want. That's what we all want AEW to build towards, because we want that day to come where, you know, we can honestly say we were a part of the revolution and we pushed Vince and his shit in, and now we're going to force him to be fucking better because look at what you fucking did not take seriously, motherfucker. Now we're here. What are you going to do now? You're going to fucking sit in your back, sit in your gorilla position and fucking give us subpar garbage every Monday? Not anymore, man. That's what I want.
Me too. Me too. I mean, they when WCW died, Vince lost his push. He lost his edge. He didn't care anymore, and it never recovered. And now that he has legitimate competition back, I'm still waiting for him to fight back. I mean, right now he's still thinking that his way is the right way. I think eventually he's gonna fight back legitimately and say, turn to Triple H, give him the keys to the kingdom, tell him to go save it, go fix it. And I think AEW will then have a legitimate problem.
Well, listen, if that's the case, again, that just means better for us. Because I think everybody's in the same boat listening to me. If you enjoy AEW, I'm sure you respect NXT. You might not be watching NXT because it's a WWE affiliated product, but I think we're all in the same boat here. We want Triple H to see what he could do, given the proper time to fix it. It's not going to happen in 6 months. It's not going to happen in a year. It's not going to even happen in 2 years. I mean, the damage that Vince has done to WWE right now is irreparable. It's fucking completely so far gone. I don't think anybody can come in there and fix it. But Triple H, I think, is the right man for the job, and I think all of us, who love AEW and like what AEW is producing, I think we all kind of feel that Triple H is the guy that could do that, and I hope we get to that point. But like I said, Jericho can spin it out however he wants. It's a Jericho thing. Yeah, it's a Jericho storyline, but obviously there are bigger things in mind here for Mike Tyson in AEW, and without WWE, this won't even be a talking point on the show tonight. But Jericho versus Colt Cabana, this was a pretty decent match. Colt Cabana is a good hand to have in AEW. I think he's very good at what he does. Jericho with Colt Cabana here tonight. First time ever, 20 years in the business for each of them. And this is the first time they've been in the ring together. So this one went to Jericho, obviously. Nice back and forth here. Cabana took Jericho down with the flying head scissors, and then a top rope Frankensteiner for a near fall. He rolled Jericho up for a 2 count. Then we had Colt Cabana try to go for a run towards the corner. He tried to do a leapfrog over Jericho, but he looked, Jesse, to kind of trip up on the turnbuckle. I don't know if he knew he made a mistake and he tried to kind of correct himself, but whatever the spot was supposed to be, it was supposed to be what we seen, minus the botch. He walked right into a Judas effect, and then the Judas effect caught him 1, 2, 3, and Jericho wins this pretty easily here with the Judas effect. No kick-out attempt or no struggle from Colt Cabana whatsoever. Solid TV match. After the match, Jericho told everybody to shut their ass, and he addressed him. I guess everybody needed to address him with respect, because he was actually calling out Mike Tyson here. He said, what just happened to Cabana is what's going to happen to Tyson, that piece of shit. He said he talked about the incident with Tyson last week. He said it's the fight everyone wants to see. He said he can taste the blood of Cabana on his fist, and he wants the blood of Mike Tyson when he shoves his head straight up his stupid bleep. Now, I didn't get what he said there. His stupid ass? What did he say there that they bleeped it out? Did you catch that?
They bleeped it out.
Well, what was so bad that they needed to bleep it out? We had fucking Taz on before saying that Brian Cage is going to tear the living shit out of Jon Moxley, but they're bleeping Chris Jericho, of all people, out?
Yeah, they're only allowed a certain number of potty mouth words before they exceed their rating, and they have to pay a fine. So they can't just use it for every segment. They only literally like 1 to 2 tops.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That might be. I guess that's right. That makes sense. He said that's why he won't wait for next week's show or the next pay-per-view or next Christmas. He wants him right here, right now on Dynamite. He called out the baddest man on the planet. I said he's waiting for him. After a pause, out came Orange Cassidy. The announcers then started laughing. We had Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, and Jim Ross kind of chuckling. Sammy was on the stage observing, by the way, who's a terrible singer, singing Judas by Chris Jericho's band Fozzy. He was way off key. Don't know what the fuck he was doing. You apparently loved it because you said he was just such a natural heel and a great heel. But if you're fucking up the lyrics of that song, bro, I don't think you're even a heel in my book. You're just not a fan of Fozzy.
He works. He triggers people. Love it.
I guess that's why he did it. It's exactly why he did it. So Sammy observed, and then Cassidy came out to the ring. He gets in the ring with Jericho. Cassidy takes Jericho's hands and puts Jericho's hands in his belt. Like almost like an Al Bundy, like fucking Al Bundy putting his hand down his pants. It's exactly what he did with Jericho's hands into his belt. And Hager charged at Cassidy. Cassidy ducked with his hands in his pocket. He rolled to the floor where the best friends lifted him over the barricade. Santana and Ortiz then ran out to talk trash to the best friends with Jericho and Hager. Sammy shook his head in disgust from the stage, and obviously they're building towards a match that I didn't even realize I wanted, but now I want it. Jericho and how great he is and how great Orange Cassidy is. This could be a great thing for Fyter Fest. It looks like they're shaping up to have Jericho and Orange Cassidy go one-on-one. What do you think?
I think they'll work well together. I mean, it'll probably fall in the same vein as Jericho and Colt Cabana right now. I mean, it was entertaining. Jericho can pretty much adapt to any and all styles in the ring. He can do the comedy. He can do the tag stuff. He can do the main event stuff. It's not too much he can't do as far as his style in the ring. So I kind of want to see what him and Orange can do. I think it'll be, really, really Jericho. I mean, if you really think about it, he's one of the best in-ring storytellers. What I mean by that is you just put Jericho in a ring with a fresh opponent, and he'll make the story as the match goes on. You know who else is good at that? Kevin Owens. You just put him in the ring. Put him in the ring, Kevin Owens versus such and such. And they'll start to do their wrestling match and build their story together in the ring as it goes on. Jericho's also pretty good at this, so I can't wait to see what they do.
Speaking of story, we got your boo, Britt Baker. She was at the Jaguars practice facility, rolling her wheelchair with a 5-pound weight tied to the back of the chair. She then was working her arms out with the heavy ropes, and then she shifted down to a 2.5-pound dumbbell. She then tried to roll herself up a ramp with a nice little cheering section there with Tony Schiavone leading the way. And this was all done in slow motion to show you that she's working so hard and so vigorously on coming back. I know Jesse cannot wait for Britt Baker to come back on TV and bless us with her role model ways.
Is she out for? Is she gonna be on TV every week doing this?
Oh yes.
Fuck.
Adam Cole doesn't want her home, baby.
Why not?
Because he's got video games to play. That's why.
Take her home. God, heal. I want.
He's got Velveteen Dream to get ready for. That's why.
Oh, jeez, man. They don't have to watch this every week, do we?
Hey,
dude, I'm serious. She's not even Eva anymore. Now she's Britt Bliss.
Hey,
she's
you and I, bro.
And have to stay on TV.
We need a role model, man. Britt Baker is that role model.
Dude, go home and get better, please.
Big Swole versus Nyla Rose. This one was I got some thoughts on this, but I also got some news on my good buddy over there, Jim Cornette. Whether you love him or hate him, he actually blasted AEW for how they've booked Nyla Rose. So he says this in regards to Nyla Rose and Hikaru Shida coming out of Double or Nothing. He was not a fan of the hardcore elements of the match because, obviously, why would he be? He's Jim Cornette. He hates everything. And then people say, I hate everything. But he did praise Nyla Rose for her ability, and subsequently he lambasted AEW for the way in which they've booked her during her time in the company. This is what he says, and I quote, Nyla Rose could have been a goddamn beast like Awesome Kong in her TNA run if they didn't want to fucking capitalize on the built-in controversy of the transgender athlete and the natural hormonal and anatomical fucking advantage and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Cornette then elaborated further, saying she's 200-some fucking pounds. She's 3 times the size of every other twat in that fucking division, and she takes more bumps and gets beat up and beat more than any of them. She has been defeated by a fucking 90-pound schoolgirl. She's been beaten up and sold for everybody on the roster. And then finally, he ends with this one. Cornette then would explain why he hated the hardcore elements of the match, saying that he doesn't believe that female performers should be taking those types of bumps. He says, and I quote, "But now they're using a no DQ match, chairs and tables and barricades, and taking bumps through tables onto concrete floors. If it doesn't hurt a girl, whether it's a 200-pound girl or 135 pounds, why should a 275-pound man ever sell it?" Is what he said. So clearly, he thinks AEW should have booked Nyla Rose a little bit better. What do you think, Jesse, on the way Nyla Rose has been booked before we get into this match with Big Swole? Is he right? Does he have a point? Or was Hikaru Shida winning the championship the right decision, like I said it was? Personally, my opinion is they needed a restart. Nyla Rose, yes, could have been the champion, but how many women could you have her realistically go through? Shida was built up at a time where AEW pushed and pushed and pushed and had her be, undefeated. She was the number one ranked female for like 8 weeks in a row. I think at that point they had no choice but to give Hikaru Shida the championship. And I honestly think Nyla Rose is going to be fine whether Jim Cornette doesn't like the booking or not.
I didn't agree with taking the title off of Rose. I mean, like I said, I was for keeping it on her, but I mean, I don't agree with Cornette. I mean, I think he should just stay in his lane on this one. I mean, especially when you're dealing with a talent like Nyla Rose, there's no guideline to follow. There's no, this is what you should do. I mean, she really is. I mean, if you think about her entire situation, one of the most unique wrestlers that anyone's ever had to book and produce. So for Corny to say, well, they should be doing this. I mean, how was there a blueprint for that? How does he know what they should be doing with her and what would work? I mean, how does he know it's not working now? I don't have a problem with Nyla Rose right now. She's not champion. I'd rather she be champion, but she's not dead and buried and miscast in my belief. I mean, I think she's booked just fine. So I'm not sure what he's talking about.
She ain't going anywhere either. I mean, the company's 1 year old. Well, I mean, she won tonight, which we'll talk about in a second. She beat Big Swole. Big Swole got some offense in. Big Swole is still green in the ring, but this was definitely a showcase for Swole to see what she could do against someone like Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose was never in doubt here. She was always going to win this match, but she wins with a huge sit-out spine buster for the clean win. Big Swole, I don't know if you were paying attention to the match or not, Jesse, but, when Big Swole's on TV, she has that natural charisma. She is definitely getting better every time I see her. This is her first match in a couple of months due to the CV-19, but she is definitely getting better in the ring. The only thing that I could really zing Big Swole on is that there's a couple of timing issues. There's a couple of miscommunication issues, which is always going to come in time. She just needs more in-ring action, but I think Big Swole is going to be a really solid part of this division, and if we see more of her and she's continuing to grow the way that she is, I think it's going to work out well for her. And then you're going to be looking at a women's division that is definitely going to be on the upswing. You got Nyla Rose, who is coming into her own. Britt Baker, whether you like her or not, she's going to be a big name in that division. Hikaru Shida, Big Swole, if she comes along. You got Chris Statlander, right? So they got a nice, solid core there. So I was happy to see Big Swole come along here tonight.
Yeah, I'm a low-key big fan of Big Swole. Want to know why?
Cedric Alexander?
Well, no, not really. But we suffer from the same autoimmune disease. So I personally know how much of an uphill battle it is for her to do what she does on a weekly basis. So that being said, I mean, I've got this whole just internal respect for what she does. I mean, she is green, and it feels like that she's trying to hone in her gimmick, which I do like. And the in-ring skill-wise, I mean, the skill is there. I mean, she does need a ring general to work with, but I like where she could potentially go, and I want to see how far she can go is dealing with what I know that she has to deal with herself.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that stuff about Big Swole, so you're gonna have to tell me about that and where I could actually. I think someone told me tonight that on Dark she kind of went a little in depth about what she is and what she's about. If I'm not, I guess I should watch Dark, huh?
Told you, but yeah, she suffers from Crohn's disease. I mean, and as do I. So I mean, it can be a lot. I mean, she has so much to deal with. As far as her diet and her workout routine and everything else. So to go through what I know she has to go through and still do what she does, I just have a whole new respect level for her right now.
It's pretty interesting. I didn't know about that. She looks in great shape too. So
phenomenal.
Big Swole, like I said, yeah, some good things coming from her, and if she can continue just getting better week in and week out, she's going to be a nice, big, solid part of that division. So very much looking forward to seeing what she has next. So she was actually interviewed after the match with Schiavone. She said her 2 months off recentered her. She said she lost, but the fans are behind her. Baker then was sitting in the crowd. She was she was sitting actually in her wheelchair in the back of a golf cart, and she was behind the barricade. And Swole grabbed a chair because Baker was talking shit about her. So Baker fled and backed up her truck away from Big Swole because she didn't want to get hit with the chair. So looks like they're building some tension between Big Swole and Britt Baker. Looks like Britt Baker is building a feud with everybody in the women's division because she's a role model. Everybody needs a great role model like Britt Baker in their lives.
They just don't know what they're going to do with her yet. That's all.
Yeah, that too. But everybody needs a good role model.
Jeez.
All right, moving on to more important things
just
here.
Go heal that injury, please.
Yeah.
Go away. Go get better.
Schiavone interviewed Darby Allin. Now, I know Jesse and I have agreed the more we do not hear from Darby Allin, the better. But this was actually sweet and to the point. Schiavone said he hasn't been cleared, which I do think will factor into him kind of showing up at Fyter Fest in his in that match with Brian Cage and Jon Moxley. He will interfere there. He asked about his thoughts on Taz. He said he'll get the last laugh on Cage. So they're obviously teasing that, and that's pretty much all he said. The less we hear from Darby, the better, and this was just very quick, straight to the point, and very well delivered. Schiavone then transitioned into a sit-down interview with the former Revival, FTR. They were in the lobby of the Jacksonville Jaguars Training Center. He asked what FTR stands for right out of the gate. So the former Dawson said that it's a way of life for them. Now we got Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. No more Dash and Dawson. Cash said it's a lifestyle for them and takes on a life of its own. Dawson said they're at the pinnacle of the wrestling revolution, and right now FTR is for the revolution. Schiavone asked which teams they are most excited to face. They talked about the Butcher and the Blade, Private Party, Santana and Ortiz, the Lucha Brothers, and then Omega and Page, and then took a quick jab at them and said, yeah, they're the tag team champions, but they're not even a real tag team. So we had Dax Harwood said they're not a real tag team. Schiavone asked why they didn't mention the Young Bucks, and this is where it got interesting. They laughed and said it's the so-called dream match in tag team wrestling that everybody's been waiting for. He said it's not a dream match for them, even though everybody has been raving about them for years. Cash said he doesn't want to have a dream match with them. He just wants to punch them in the mouth. Cash then said when the match does happen, he doesn't want any excuses when they beat them. No injuries, no bad backs. He wants them 100% healthy as they've ever been. So we got Dax Harwood saying he wants everyone to come to them and apologize for not calling them the best tag team in professional wrestling and have not been calling them the best tag team in all of wrestling all this time. So they stood up, and then Schiavone said he thought he gave them the answer of what he thought FTR really stood for. It was bleeped, and obviously it was fuck the Revival, which it could really be used as the meaning, fuck the Revival. And then Butcher and Blade walked down the stairs and yelled at them. FTR yelled back, and then they threw water bottles at them. Butcher and Blade were held back, and then FTR said they'd see them on Dynamite next week. This interview was great. They're going to be in the ring next week. It's going to be great. We're going to get some great tag team wrestling. I'm sure Tony Khan's going to send them out there and let them do their thing. It's going to be awesome to see. What'd you think of this promo, and what did you think about not only the meaning of FTR, Jesse, but what did you think about still their second week here on Dynamite, continuing their stance on the Young Bucks? I love it.
Yeah, I like how they're building that feud. I don't like how they couldn't come up with a damn tag team name in time. I mean, they had plenty of time to sit around and come up with their tag team name, and the best they came up with was a name that they stole from old co-workers of theirs. And then
it's more open. The reason I like it's more open-ended, I think. It could really mean anything. It's up to interpretation. It could mean fuck the revival, which would be throwback to WWE, because they were pretty much held down. Fuck you and fuck the revival for holding us down for all those years. It could be used as fear the revolution or fear the revolt. It could be many different meanings. That's why I think the way that they explained it kind of came off very well. Even though a lot of people probably have the same opinion as you do, like they could have came up with a different tag team name, something that really stuck, but they went with the 3-letter initial FTR. It's open ended.
Fucking stupid. I mean, I see, I get it, but it's fucking stupid. They need a tag team name, man. It can't just be FTR. And if it is FTR, then what does it mean? I mean, you know what they said? We can't come up with a tag team name, so you guys do it for us. They don't know. They couldn't come up with shit. The only thing they came up with is a name that wasn't theirs. And they wasn't even smart enough to go and pay these guys off and buy the name from them first. You know what I would do if I was Tony Khan? I would have hired a Revolt over in AEW and feud them with the FTR guys.
Over the name?
Yeah. Yep.
Contract on a pole match. Whoever wins it gets the name.
Something. Bring them in. I mean, they're a part of the lore at this point. I mean, at this point, going forward, FTR is going to be linked to that tag team. Bring them in. Sign them.
Well, they're going up against the Butcher and the Blade next week. I don't know what version of the Butcher and the Blade we're going to get. The actual hardcore-looking Butcher and Blade. Obviously, we're not with the Bunny anymore because Allie is doing her thing with QT Marshall, I see. But are we going to get the old Butcher and the Blade, Jesse, or are we going to get this Hot Topic version of Butcher and Blade? What the fuck's going on with them?
I give 0 fucks about Butcher and the Blade if there is no Allie.
Yes.
All right. So
yes, we need the Bunny. We need the Bunny hopping around.
If there is no Bunny, there is no Butcher and Blade. They might as well go back to whatever the hell it was they were doing. I don't care anymore. So
there you go.
She made she for me, she was the glue. I mean, God, you can't stop watching her, but as you're watching her, you seeing these guys do what they do, and it made it interesting. Now they're just, I don't know. They better really perform in the ring because there's no alley to look at now.
You see what happens? You see what happens, AEW, when you take a beautiful lady and you take her away from the act. She was wearing those leather pants, right? We needed a reason to care about them, and now we don't care about them.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. My wife watches these.
Just blame it on me. Just blame it on me.
God, I hate Allie and everyone else involved in this show. Not her, my wife.
There you go. Yeah, Allie sucks. She's hideous. Yep. I take Nia Jax over Allie.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on. Moving on. At least Allie won't fucking injure somebody and end their fucking career. Anyway,
I'm not gonna get blocked on Twitter. You're on your own on this one, buddy.
Who? Nia Jax has not blocked me. Surprisingly,
she is not.
Nope.
Oh,
I am still free.
How we gotta work on that?
Either way, I don't care. Half the fucking roster's got me blocked anyway. Anyway, Colt Cabana. He was talking about his match with Jericho with Alex Marvez. Colt said he fell short, and then he said he was. He's on national TV. He has shown he can hang with the big names on national TV in the big spotlight. He said he has a great record so far, but he couldn't get it done against Archer or Jericho. So Brody Lee walked up to him and said, everyone suffers losses, and without losses, they can't grow. He told Colt he can help him respond to the loss. Then we had the Dark Order spokesperson, and I can't wait to see Evil Uno and Stu Grayson back on TV. I think they're really going to take the Dark Order group to the next level because they've been actually out of action due to the travel restrictions as well. But the Dark Order spokesman was there, told Cabana to think about it. He handed Colt a fresh bottle of water. Colt said that's nothing he wants to be a part of, but he looked like he was listening, and then he actually took a sip of this bottle of water. Now, what does that mean, Jesse? Does that symbolically mean that Colt Cabana is possibly thinking about turning himself over to the Dark Order?
I think he already turned himself over to the Dark Order. That water might have been spiked with some special Bill Cosby pills there, buddy.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe Colt joins the Dark Order. He's right now feeling a little directionless, so we'll see what happens there. Then we got the main event, Jesse. Cody versus Jungle Boy TNT Championship match. This was the first time the TNT Championship was being defended. This is Cody's new venture. He wants to be the most fighting champion in TNT Championship history right out of the gate. So we had a nice 15-minute match or so between Cody and Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy won a Battle Royal last week, and he is now in line for this title shot. The one thing, before we get into the brief breakdown and play-by-play of this thing, the one thing that I surmised in this main event was that, A, I was excited about it because I'm a big fan of both of these guys. B, Cody's going to do right by that TNT Championship. And no matter what Cody does, it's always got this just huge level of importance, which I just love and appreciate about Cody. It just makes everything feel so important. And, you know, he's just built this figure of himself as that guy. You know, you look to something being important, you go to Cody. You put it on Cody, you have Cody talk about it. That's the type of guy that he is. But man, oh man, Cody is so passionate about what he does. Cody loves what he does so much. Cody wants to make literally everything he does fucking epic, to a point where he could be his own worst enemy at times. He did a blade job in this match, which caused him to bleed all over himself. And then we seen not only him blade himself, he almost got caught on camera. I think he might have been caught on camera fucking putting the blade away. And we got both of these guys absolutely imploding a table on the outside with a high top rope spot to the outside where I thought they both bounced off the fucking floor. This was every bit of a championship match you could possibly think of, with all the extremes. Blood, tables, fucking epic, fireworks, everything. Even the fucking Nightmare family came out to see if both of these guys were okay. That's how fucking scared they were. It just got taken to the next level, and I didn't even think it needed to go that far. You could have given me a 12, 13, 14-minute match with these guys just plain as day, competitive for the TNT Championship, and all would have been good. But nope, Cody's got to add blood and fireworks and tables and fucking scary, you know, Nightmare family fucking, oh my God, is he all right? What did you think about this?
Very, very forced match. It was very forced. Like you said, they had all of this action, all these spots. They had color. They had this big spot at the end. They had, you know, the people coming out to check on them. What was the match? 10 minutes long?
13 minutes is what I'm reading here.
I mean, this one had WWE smell all over it. It was just way too forced. They wanted to push Jungle Boy as going the limit and taking Cody to the end. And as opposed, it seemed like it was definitely a typical Cody produced match, but it was just overproduced. I mean, to the high hell. I mean, too much for this TV main event match. They tried to put it on as a 30-minute pay-per-view barn burner.
Yeah, you know, I get. Listen, I get what Cody's trying to do. I get that it's the first title defense right out of the gate in the main event after you just won it. You want to go all the way with it. You want to really nail it home to everybody there watching and everybody that's going to continue watching that this is the championship that is going to just be one of the most important aspects of this entire company. I get it. He wanted it to feel special. He wanted it to feel big. The fireworks, the blood, the table. Yeah. But when you see this type of thing, it's very difficult to say, man, that was great. Yeah, it was a very good match. But I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat anything. It was heavily overproduced to a point where, like Jesse said, it did come off forced. It did come off like everything they did was completely unnecessary. I mean, Jungle Boy was already hot going in. Cody is the hottest thing in the fucking company. Always. But I don't think they needed to go to that length. I think the title just being on Cody kind of sells it as this title is going to be a big fucking deal. You didn't need all that extra. You didn't need those bells and whistles. But yeah, it is what it is. But we took a small commercial break, and then we came back, and that's when shit just completely exploded everywhere. MJF was yelling at Jungle Boy at ringside, I'm better than you, and then Jungle Boy was answering him back, how's that chest looking? Because they were chopping the shit out of each other last week. They went face-to-face. Cody then, all of a sudden, runs into the fucking stage on the outside, some barricade, and his forehead was just completely busted open. So Jungle Boy and Cody, they were going back and forth with a barrage of punches, and Cody was almost selling the aspect of him losing his vision from the blood going into his eye. Jungle Boy took control for a couple of minutes. Cody counted and landed a top rope superplex, which looked beautiful for a near fall. They battled on the top rope and then tumbled off the top rope through a table that was set up earlier at ringside. Absolutely exploded the table. Arn Anderson was shocked by what he's seen. Schiavone said this could result in a double count. That very much could have. Cody came back with a crossroads that absolutely was devastating. Nailed him. Jim Ross called it almost like a pile driver, the way Jungle Boy's head bounced off the mat. And Schiavone said this was probably Jungle Boy's best performance in his career as Cody wins with the crossroads at 13 minutes to retain the TNT title. I don't think so. I think the match with MJF was Jungle Boy's best performance yet in AEW. But obviously Cody wins. He retains the championship. And Jesse, next week, he's going one-on-one. Very confused by this because they mentioned Mark Quinn. And then they mentioned Ray Phoenix. And then we got mentioned of Mark Quinn again of Private Party. Mark Quinn is challenging for the TNT Championship. Don't know why. Don't know how he's factoring into that. I guess it really is open to anybody. But why they would pick him is beyond me. I would much rather see Ray Phoenix. But we got another title match next week. Cody second against Mark Quinn. What do you think about that for the TNT Championship?
It makes sense. Cody said that he was gonna be defending this title every week, and they need bodies. They gotta go through each tag division, each tag team in a division. I mean, how long before he can go through an opponent before they run out of bodies? He need bodies. Start with the tag team.
He did say as well, I don't know if you've seen it on, I think he had a Q&A on social media. He did say this is going to be open to non-contracted AEW talent as well. So there's that little, I guess that little seed being planted about those former WWE guys coming on. And we could see Zack Ryder show up on AEW. You could see a Rusev show up on AEW. We could see an Eric Rowan or Leo Rush show up on an AEW. So Cody's kind of pushing the lines there and keeping people guessing.
I got a different name in mind when he said that. I was thinking Marty.
Well, that too.
That
could be safe for a pay-per-view, though.
Yeah, well, Marty already showed up on BTE. You would know that if you watch BTE.
Yes, I know.
It was a pretty funny spot too. But yeah, Marty, he showed face on BTE, so we know that's usually the precursor. We started seeing FTR spoiler teasers, and then we got FTR. BTE might be the teaser into what we might be getting somewhere with Marty sighting. Who knows?
Now, before we get out of here, I wanted to run this by you. Someone mentioned this to me last week in the comments of the video, and I want to bring it to your attention. First of all, do you ever see, especially this year, let's keep it within 2020, do you see Cody ever turning heel in AEW?
No.
Or is he going to be one of those guys that's going to be a babyface throughout?
Oh, wait. Well, you just said stay in 2020. Do I see him turning heel in 2020? Hell no.
All right, going into next year, to 2021.
Will he ever turn heel?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not going to. He can't. I mean.
Well, the reason I said 2020 is because, how long can Adam Page keep up that he's frustrated with Kenny Omega? A heel turn is going to be coming eventually. It
could be Kenny's heel turn. We don't know.
But where I'm going with this is, what do you think of Adam Page eventually lining himself up with FTR, and then becoming like this almost Four Horsemen-esque stable in AEW?
They don't need it. They don't need it, and Page doesn't need it. They spent all this time trying to get Page where they wanted him to be in the main event picture, and it feels like they got him there. It feels like he's there. He's now over enough. People care enough. It feels like he's just about there. To put him in the tag team stable, it feels like it would be a step back from where they want to get him. I mean, now if that was a start of him, if he started off the way he did, and then they want to try to get him to where he is, it feels like putting him in that kind of stable would be a nice step to get him where he is now. The same way they put him in this tag team with Kenny. And guess what? They got him to where he is now. Putting him with FTR It's more like a lateral to back move to try to help build them up, and it's not. I don't think it's a good spot for Hangman.
Well, yeah, the reason I brought this to your attention was someone mentioned to me like Cody, Adam Page, and the Revival or FTR would or possibly going to recreate the Four Horsemen in AEW. I'm like, that's actually not a bad idea when the time is right, but you know. Who knows? I figured I'd run that by you. Yeah, I mean, there's enough stables everywhere in the fucking company. It seems like everybody's in a goddamn stable. But, I mean, if you got one solid stable like that to go up against the Elite and kind of battle for supremacy, the Elite's going to need somebody out there after the Inner Circle. So why not have it come from within, you know?
I think there's a lot of really, really, really good ideas that they can do with some of these young guys that they have. I mean, a lot of ideas like, you know, another Four Horsemen stable, things like that. But things we got to remember, we have so much time.
Yeah.
So much time. I mean, we got to give AEW time to breathe. They just got Jake. You don't want them to blow through all of their ideas in the first couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of time to build stables with Hangman. Get Hangman where you want him to go. And then when you're ready for him to come back down, where does he go from there? Then you put him in a stable with the Revival. I mean, FTR. I don't hate the idea, but it's just not a good time for Hangman right now. It'll be a regression for where they want him to be. I think you got somebody on the cusp of the main event scene. You stick him in a stable right now, and it's not a heel stable. Only a heel stable I can see him maybe moving up, because then that would bring the FTR up with him up to that main event scene. But then you got to run into the risk of too many factions. We already got the Elite. We already have the Inner Circle, and then we got the Death Triangle. We got. I mean, let's not over, saturated with factions yet. So, but I like the idea. I don't like the timing of it. So
yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, I figured I'd run that by you. I just found that to be very interesting last week when I did the show without you. Someone left me that comment in the comment section. I'm like, that's actually not a bad idea. Like, like you said, when the time is right. But they got time to get through all this. They're gonna have even more to play with when the summer is over, going into All Out. Like I told you guys, I said it a couple of times, when AEW has their 1 year anniversary on TNT come October this year, it's going to be a vastly different company than what you seen last October. So as long as they keep building and keep bringing in the talent that deserve an opportunity and they know that they could really use and make the company better, I think it's going to work out well for everybody. But I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here on the podcast, man. And I want to thank Jesse for joining me as always. If you guys missed anything on the channel, please go and check it out in the description below. And follow me on social media, man, at JDfromNY206. I will be live tomorrow on YouTube covering NXT. We got the finals of the Cruiserweight Championship Tournament between Drake Maverick and Phantasma. And then we got the final push towards TakeOver in Your House, which is going to be headlined by Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole, which I'm hearing is getting a cinematic treatment, and Karrion Kross versus Tommaso Ciampa, as long as that is the top two. You got me sold right there. And then you got Johnny Gargano and Keith Lee for the North American Championship. Dude, that's like the icing on the fucking cake right there. So it's going to be a great show, and I'm sure Jesse is going to be watching it along with me as always. But Jesse, any parting words before we get the hell out of here?
Yeah, two things. I just got an alert for the IC title match at NXT. Yeah, have fun with that one, man.
What do you mean? What do you mean? The North American Championship?
Yeah.
What do you mean you got an alert?
The interim. The interim IC champion.
The interim IC champion.
Not IC, my bad.
The Cruiserweight champion.
Cruiserweight, my bad. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know what happens. I didn't want to really talk about it because I wasn't sure if you wanted to know. I know.
Also, look what came in, man. Look at it.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, Owen Hart. Look at that. See, go get your Owen Hart T-shirt, man, and support the Owen Hart Foundation on Pro Wrestling Tees.
That's a beast, man. Look at this shirt, man.
Dark side of the ring.
Too.
There you go.
Awesome.
There you go. All right, guys, we're getting out of here. I will see you all right back here with Jesse next week for Dynamite. Until then, catch me on YouTube live tomorrow for NXT as we finally get to the go-home show of In Your House. Until then, guys, take care.